Hello, I'm Pat, Axway's Integration Pattern Specialist. If you're here with me today, you're most likely wanting to create a flow template. Great, that's exactly what I'm here to help you achieve today. Let's look at what we will achieve in this training video today. We will learn what is cloud-to-cloud integration. We will also learn what is a flow, how to create a flow, and finally, we'll see how to create a new instance. Let's get started. Before we get started, let's check that we have everything ready to do this integration. First, you need an account to Axway Amplify platform with Integration Builder. Simply check if you can connect to platform.axway.com and then open Integration Builder from the home page. Then you need to make sure you have access to your cloud app and it allows application integration. A cloud-to-cloud integration is when you create a logical flow between two or more cloud applications. For example, you may want to publish a lead from Marketo to Salesforce. To do so, we will use Integration Builder to implement a cloud-to-cloud integration between Marketo and Salesforce. Flows are workflow templates that are independent of the endpoint and used to define a set of actions that will take place based on an event happening. They can be utilized to automate a process that involves steps across multiple systems or to keep systems like CRMs, ticketing, and marketing synchronized. Flows enable developers to design integration rules and triggers that are one-to-many, allowing synchronization across multiple applications in real time and reduce data silos. So how do we create a flow? Let's first start by clicking on the Build New Flow Template button. As you can see, there are three ways to create new flows: create from an existing flow, importing from an existing JSON payload, and building a new flow from scratch. We're going to start by building a new flow in this demo. So let's click on the Build New Flow button and choose a name for our flow. As you can see, there are a few different types of triggers that will allow us to kick off a workflow. The first one is event triggers. It listens for events generated by an element instance, such as a webhook or polling framework. The next one is the connector request. It is triggered anytime a specific API call is made to a given connector instance. Similar to the connector request is the request. It is triggered anytime a specific API call is made to a given endpoint. The scheduled trigger is like a cron timer that goes off at a given interval. Lastly, there is the manual, which is triggered via a manual API call. But for the purposes of this demo, let's choose event. Once selected, you'll need to provide a variable, which is a placeholder for a connector instance. We want to make ours somewhat generic, so we'll call ours source and hit save. This brings us to our flow building area. From here we can start building out our flow steps, which is how we start orchestrating the data between systems. Adding a step is pretty straightforward. Simply click the blue plus button. In this flow example, we'll be moving leads from our Marketo CRM to a Salesforce CRM based on an event trigger. The event trigger, in this case, fires when the user fills out and submits a Marketo form. There is some setup required to accomplish this using Marketo campaigns and forms, but that's outside of the scope of this demo. So assuming we have this set up, we can move forward with the flow. The first step is to get the new lead from Marketo. To do this, we need to create a connector API request step. Now, let's name our step Get Leads and choose the variable we created earlier. We can use the get method, then add our endpoint URL. Because the JSON package in this case is formatted a little differently for Salesforce than Marketo, we need to strip out the person object and make our new request body conform to the Salesforce specifications. So to accomplish this, our next step will be a JS script that will help format the request body. Let's add our code and name it map Salesforce body. As you can see in the code, we are mapping a new body object that corresponds with the API specifications of Salesforce. Note the constant P at the top. In order to get the response from our last step, we can reference it by calling JSON.notation steps.getLeads.response.body.person. Lastly, we want to post our new lead into Salesforce, so let's create a new connector API request and name it Sales Leads. Again, we need to create another instance variable. This time, we will call the new connector instance destination. After we create it, let's choose it and save. Now let's set our method to post and create our endpoint. Finally, we need to add our new body to the new request. So under the Show Advanced button, we will see a body field where we can add our JSON package from the previous defined step. Now you should have a working flow created. So how do you create a flow instance? Now that we have our flow created, let's go ahead and create an instance of it. There are several ways we can accomplish this, but I'm going to show you the most straightforward one. Start by locating your flow, hover over it, and click the Create Instance button. Now you should see the Create Instance screen where the two variables you previously created for your workflow are visible. Start by naming the new instance Create a Flow Instance. Next, click the Source Element Instance Variable button. This pop-up should show all of your connectors. Let's choose the Marketo connector instance since that's our source we will be bringing leads from. Now let's do the same thing for the destination element instance variable. Only this time we'll choose Salesforce connector since that's where we are posting our new lead. Lastly, we are able to toggle on and off our instance, allowing us to temporarily deactivate the formula and stop execution of it. But for the purposes of this, we'll keep it active. That's it. Now you have a new flow instance. Congratulations. You now have learned what a cloud-to-cloud integration is, what a flow is, creating a flow, and creating a new flow instance.